Give me your beef.
Is how people react to product announcements.
Oh my God, that's the current soup du jour, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's Hydros and Apex announced new stuff, and people have gone crazy. And I don't mind the people going crazy. That's fine. That's great, right? We're all excited. I think people take it both too seriously and too lightly. They do both at the same time. People who love Apex are talking about how great the Apex thing is. People who love Hydros talking about how great the Hydros thing is. Haven't seen either of them in real life, so we really don't know. I mean, I guess we've seen this so many times in the hobby. Here's this thing that's coming, and then people get excited, and then sometimes it never happens.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes it doesn't happen for a year. So getting all excited about the announcement, I get it, right? That's part of the fun, is this cool thing is coming. But then there's a lot of fucking shade thrown by a lot of people about products that no one's seen yet. And
Man,
sometimes people say competition is good, and then people say, oh, you know, this company is dead because they're not keeping up. And it's like, but wait, the product that you say they're not keeping up with isn't even out yet. We don't know any of the details of it. It might be a nightmare in practice. I hope it's not.
man,
But
I am all over the page on this one, and I do not know where to land because I see pros and cons all over the place. Um, I guess I don't know who had it between Apex and Coral View. I don't know which one sort of had announced they were going to make an announcement, but of course, since they're close competition, they're gonna whichever one wasn't going to announce something at first is quickly drummed up a new thing, or because they got to stay their competition, they got to stay close to each other. But so Apex released something that looks like the Trident, which is basically a Trident for nitrate and phosphate. Well, they announced it, they didn't release it, they announced
right.
it. I felt on the fence about that because, dude, who has room for another? First of all, I'm just giving my unvarnished opinion. The shape factor of a trident, I think, is horrible. It's not stackable and it's oddly shaped. And I don't know. I know you're a fan and an early adopter.
I don't care about that kind of thing. It's not that I'm a fan. I don't care. Uh, Find a place to make it work if you want that piece of equipment.
Well, it's weird because all these other people, like the Coral View thing, the starts with an M.
Maven.
Maven. The Maven is going to be an all-in-one. So it's going to do alkalinity, calcium, magnesium, but then it's going to do nitrate and phosphate, maybe a couple other things. Whereas the I don't know what they're calling the second Trident yet, just the NP.
The Trident NP, I think, is what
Trident NP. But it's tricky because so if you don't have a Trident, then you have to buy a Trident and an NP.
Yeah,
but yeah. But I understand from reading the comments, because that always helps me figure out where I'm landing, because people are like, why in the hell would they send it separate? Well, they can't make an all-in-one because then you're just pissing off everyone who owns a Trident. Now everyone's got to get rid of this Trident to get NMP. But it's weird for the people that don't have either, because then now I had to buy two pieces of equipment. I don't have to. Yeah. I don't have to.
I'm drying tiny tears and playing a tiny violin.
Where's my tiny? Oh, here it is.
So look. So again, here we are. We're talking about these products that don't actually exist yet, right? But here's the thing. You got to take it all into account, right? And everybody's got a different opinion on these things, and it's good that different companies go at it differently. The Trident shape, all right, if it was flat on top, you could put stuff on top of it. That's actually a plus and a minus, right? If you have to do anything to the Trident, then you have to take anything. If you got stuff on top of something, then you have to remove that stuff to get at the thing that you want to deal with, right? So that's an issue. But the reagents go inside the Trident, right? The body of the thing serves a use. It looks like on the Maven, you just got to put your 7 reagent bottles somewhere. So, right. Yeah. So it's the problems are there for everything, and they're all the same. Where do you put the reagents? How far away are you going to be able to put the reagents from the Maven?
And like
You
you
know,
just
how
told me in an earlier show, if you change the tubing, you have to reset all sorts of crap.
well, we don't kind of, but we don't really we don't know how far away you'll be able to put them,
Yeah.
right? So you're going to have to, and can you put them above and can you put them below? And how big of a reagent bottle are you going to be able to use for how long, and how long will that reagent? So you've got to find a space for all of that stuff. And with the Trident, you have a space for all that stuff, plus or minus. That's it's just a thing, in my opinion. Um,
I do roll my eyes at you go in the comment section of that, like it was the Facebook Neptune page, but like you see comments like, oh, Trident lost. And I'm like, what the fuck did they lose? What are you
right.
talking
So
about?
look on the other side, the idea of having, look, maybe new reefers don't get it, or they've forgotten, or newer reefers, but we used to distribute everything we could. That was the goal. They have several circuits in your house, right? And so the idea of having two testers instead of one tester says to me, if one of them goes down, at least I get the other one. I don't have to repair my one central thing. Um, is that a plus or a minus? Again, I don't know. I think it's just a thing. It's just another way to go at it. Do people, you know, I've seen a bunch of people saying, they really don't need to track NNP that carefully anyway. So, maybe you know, making one device that's more expensive, are you having your customers because they can't afford it and they don't want half of it? So I don't know what the answer to all of that is. But the beef is how interesting it is, how polarizing things get instantly when, 4 years ago, we were bemoaning that there wasn't competition. And now it's kind of like we're cheering that some people think one of these companies is lost and is dying. And it's like,
Do we
well, then
just
they're,
like to bitch, or also it's like team sports mentality?
I
Someone's got to
guess,
lose.
I guess. And then, then the competition goes away. And also, like we said before, they don't even exist yet.
Yeah.
So, you know,
And
it,
then we
it
go back to moaning about there's no competition.
there's no competition. And what if, something bad happens and the Maven doesn't even come out?
Yeah.
Now the Maven looks, people think I'm an Apex guy, and I am an Apex person because that's the ecosystem I'm in. It's the same with the Apple. I'm in that ecosystem. I understand that ecosystem. I have the infrastructure for that ecosystem. So I use that ecosystem. I'm fine with that. Changing ecosystems is a crazy thing to do, and I don't want to do it. I mean, I just got a new DSLR camera and I stayed in Nikon. Thank freaking God that I don't believe in, because all the new stuff in an ecosystem that I'm already familiar with is a pain in the butt to learn.
Mm-hmm.
If I had switched to Canon or Sony, I'd have to learn everything from the ground up again.
Yeah.
Um, so and your investment in your lenses or whatever, it's the same thing. But I'm straying away. I think people love team sports kinds of feelings, and so boo them, yay us, you know. And
Yeah.
I, I guess that's a B for me. I think that's crazy, especially when we don't know anything yet. So I'm excited that Hydros has a product that I'm interested in for real. Even with the MP, the Trident MP, I would like to get them both and put them together. Whether NMP testing long term becomes something I care about, I don't think it's
That's
going to
sort of
be.
crazy, right? Like, I don't see why I'd want to look at nitrate or phosphate any more than a couple times a month.
Yeah. Well,
But it also almost feels like Apex. I wonder this. Apex made it just because the public insisted they wanted it.
oh, sure. Well, let's not forget companies exist to make money. People want to test NMP. Who cares if it's something people need to do or not? People want to do it.
But that's like LED manufacturers being pressured into making their light make a lightning storm when all of us are like, it don't fucking matter.
That's right. But they're to sell stuff, not to not sell
It
stuff.
doesn't have lightning storm. All right, I'm looking at a new light.
Then look at a new light.
Yeah.
And it gets interesting. Like, I like Luca's lights a lot. And I like Apex's lights a lot, and they're fine. And there's a plus and a minus to going with Luca. I can talk to Luca. Luca's paying attention. Luca can move quickly in the market. Um, Luca's a super nice guy, and Luca's a small boutique shop, and I like supporting that. On the other hand, all of those things also mean Luca could disappear at any moment. And Daniel Refi, they could both vanish.
Well, I'm sorry, but it's the aquarium, the guy that made your calcium reactor.
Right, Bill Wan.
It's it's cool that there was like a 10-year warranty and all this stuff and great build quality. I'm sorry, but he's gone.
He's gone. But then again, at the same time, Ben, I keep reading about people who have all these problems with equipment, and I just kind of don't. And so I don't understand what's happening.
There's user error has got to be a huge chunk of it.
I see people go, my gyre is terrible. It breaks all the time. It's like, dude, I run them, and if I put them in vinegar to clean them once a year or citric acid, I'm lucky. I just set stuff up. The Trident, I just do what the instructions say. I don't fuck with it. I don't mess with it. It's fine. I've had a couple of little problems, but you're always going to have that with something over 4 or 5 years, right? So I guess we've switched topics now, but I just trying to, am I lucky, or do I just not
No, I've seen
care?
that too. Back in the day, I loved the Reef Octopus skimmers that use the bubble blaster pump on them, the
Yeah.
Hanya, I think. And but I had a buddy that does this in Arizona, and he sort of DM'd me, and he was just like, "That is the pump I hate the worst. I've gotten in it." And it's like I've gone over it with him a bunch about clean the impellers and all this, and he's a peer, so he knows what to do too. But it boggles my mind because sometimes you just have luck, I guess, with a certain line of product. And then someone, I have to think, would you let it run dry? Would you do this? Would you mix salt water in the chamber with it? Like, what are you doing? Because mine are like the most dependable pump that's on there. And this guy has just had, I'm not even saying it's him. It's like maybe luck has something to do with it.
Maybe, or maybe the build quality changes, but I don't know. I get I feel like people mess with stuff too much.
And
It's
maybe mess with it, and it's like their first time. They don't know what they're doing. They
Yeah, I mean,
forget to put a grommet back. They forget to,
yeah, or you over tighten it, or
yeah,
the tolerances are not, this is not a Dolphin Antmaster 3K, where the tolerances were an inch, everything space everywhere. It was really hard to screw it up. Now
when
you
it's
got
weird for me, I get paid to take stuff apart when I'm there and put it back together and maintenance stuff, and I don't run into very many problems. And then when people like every time I clean my max spec gyre, it falls apart, and it's like I never had that problem.
Yeah, what are they doing to clean it? Is I guess my question on that. I don't. I would. I remember mucking with gyres to clean them, taking them apart and all that, and going, "This is so frustrating. This is so much work. I'm just not going to do it." And
It's
then,
generally easier nowadays, but
yeah, but I mean, but still, it can't be easier than what I do, because I don't do anything,
yeah,
and then if a pump goes bad in 5 years, okay, a pump went bad in 5 years. That's a pretty good run for a $300 pump, right? It's
yeah.
like in salt water. Actually, I did have a gyre go bad. One of the cages broke, and it was like, oh, I've got an extra cage, but never again am I pulling them apart to, no way. It's just, and every pump I've ever used to run my calcium reactor, the Recirc, I've always had problems, from the Syncra, which is the one I'm using now, to the, whatever the yellow thing that was on it before, to a
Pan World,
quiet
yeah,
one,
Blue
to,
Line.
I'm trying to remember what the other ones were. I've used a whole bunch of things for calcium research.
I think on that position, that's a rough duty.
Yeah, exactly. So now I just keep extra impellers around and
Yeah.
an extra pump around, because all this stuff is consumable. But I guess what's my point is, are you doing too much to your stuff? I mean, is it the same thing with quarantine? When I quarantine fish, they go into a freaking bucket or whatever, and it's dark, and I leave them alone and I feed them. And, if they need a water change, they get a water change, and that's it. I get the feeling when people are with their fish in quarantine, they're swapping out substrates and hiding places, and they're looking at the fish and they're watching it and everything. And I think, you're just doing too much. I mean, I think people do too much with their tanks. So
Well,
maybe it's the same
the
sort of
most
thing.
dangerous scenario is doing too much when you don't know what you're doing. That you're asking for it.
Right, which is exactly what you're going to do when you're a new hobbyist anyway, or it's a new thing. You don't know what it is. Do you remember your first saltwater tank and testing pH 4 times a day?
Ugh, that
Right?
lasted 2 days, and I didn't test
Yeah.
pH for years afterwards.
So I did that for a month, and when I'm not seeing much of a difference, so I'm done. Right. But when you're first doing it, you're like, I better test everything all the time. I think people are doing that to their equipment. I think people are, you know, I don't know, but maybe it is. I don't know. I'm just not. And for every piece of equipment that somebody says this is great, somebody else says it's terrible. And so there is no clear winner all the way around with anything. Even, we get back to talking about Hydros, talk about Hydros and Apex. They're both fine things. I happen to be in one ecosystem more than the other.
It feels
And
like
there's
Coke.
complaints both ways about everything. And
Dude, it's just Ford, Chevy, Coke, Pepsi, Android, iPhone. It's just another goddamn Democrat, Republican. We just pick two things, we divide, and then we fight each other.
yeah, maybe the beef is my problem. It's that I don't enjoy the team sports war like other people seem to.
My
Uh,
beef on it is like when I say there's just an announcement and someone says, "Oh, Neptune lost," and I'm like, "Dude, get out of here.
how do you
Things
how do
aren't
you
even
even know that?
released yet. Come on."
And I know people are mad at Neptune and Aperture, the conglomeration and the VC, and I get all that. The thing that's sitting in my mind is we know some stuff that happened in Neptune. They moved this year. They've got to retool production. They're in a new place with a new infrastructure. And I can see around the corner though, them getting their stride again real soon. And then doing, majorly good stuff again. It's possible that the VC money will end up helping the way it could, right? Even if Aperture sells off BRS and everything right away to make a huge buck. Um, it could be great. It could be terrible. And the same, Hydros almost got hit in Slidell, Louisiana by a tornado. They
Yeah.
missed it by like 500 feet or something like
I
that.
mean, yeah, it could just take something like that that's
You
in no
know,
one's control.
so no one's safe for any of it. So anyway, I find the whole thing a little beefy and